Alright, so this is how I did the fuel lines. This is all original 931 stuff. And these are just replacement coal line. The stainless one is just, I don't know. Same thing, coal line, just got a shield on it, kind of like the fuel lines used to. Or like kind of like the NA the fuel lines are. Get these from Unobtainium Supply, those Ferrari parts guys. They can get this coal line for you. And they're basically normal up until right about here. And in the fuel feed, this is the 931 barb side of the fuel feed line that has the banjo to the fuel distributor. And I just put a compression between, I cut it, both of them. This is the Mercedes fuel line and this is the 931 line. I just put a compression between them, that way I could get the right barb on this fuel line. That bolts up right here. And then the return line comes out here, clears the upper charge tube barely. That hose clamp's just for my header wrap. And then I put a 90 compression there, and just a little piece of, I think it's 3/8 copper line down here. And this is that external fuel pressure regulator that the Mercedes uses. It doesn't have the plunger inside the fuel distributor like the 931. So it goes in here and comes out here. And this is the Mercedes line right here. I think I bent it a little bit. And just another compression over that copper line that comes out of the fuel distributor. And then it comes out here. This is a Mercedes line that came with the fuel pressure regulator, a 90 compression, to the 931 fuel return line barb end that I cut so I could make this mate to this. And then to this fuel return line is just that coal line from Unobtainium. If yours are good, I don't know if your stock one would reach that far, so you might need the return line size. I replaced mine because it was melted quite a bit right here from my engine getting hot or something. It looked like a little bit bubbly right here, so I replaced it and I put a stainless one on there. And I mounted this down here off this bolt. See, there's my adapter plate, the thick aluminum one, and then there's the Mercedes upper airflow housing. And I put it over here. It clears this headlight bracket and clears the headlight bar, crank arm, whatever you want to call it. This here sensor is just that air plate position sensor. So it's got a little wiper in there. It senses the position of the air plate, but it's kind of weird. It's not linear or whatever, so you can't really use it for anything much. It's not real good data. So all these fuel lines here, I don't know what you would call that, but it's flanged on the end of the line inside, and then there's like a male nut that goes behind the flange. It's not like the banjos on the 931. But these are all the original Mercedes lines. And I just kind of bent them in this octopus shape because I was worried about hood clearance, kind of. And I put them down this direction, just barely missing this headlight crank arm. And we got 4 going to the top of this T, and we got the other 4 going to the underside of these T's. Could be a little prettier and more straight, but it is what it is. These T's I got on eBay. They're only like $2 a piece or something like that, but I don't know if you can get them from China right now. I think they're 3mm, but you should like measure one of these lines to make sure. And they're dual ferrule stainless steel lines, and they are compression fittings, and they've worked. I mean, they don't leak. And then all these lines on this side coming out of the T's, this is how I got my 4 into 1. I got 4 here, or 8 into 1, and then 4 down here coming in from the fuel distributor on both these sides, and then going out to the injectors here. These are all the original 931 lines. This is just a wire going to that, and I think my intake air temperature sensor. Then I put these down underneath my air box, kind of like where the tab comes out of your lower air box. I got them zip tied with a rubber so they can't vibrate against it or whatever. And they pop out on this side. And those are all original 931 lines, the original coal line on them and everything. And I think these all used to have like a little kick on them right here. I bent them all straight, put them all into one. And it's all the original 931 injector lines, all the way from the injectors down under, all the way around here. That's all original 931 line I just rebent. So original Mercedes lines, all of this, and then original 931 lines. I didn't really have to make any of these lines other than just like reorientating them. And how I did this adapter, you can see quite a bit of the adapter. It's thick, and it needs to be thick because you need to hollow out a place on the back side of it where the counterweight is a little bit. So you need it to be, I'm not sure how thick this is. I'm thinking it's not quite ½ inch, maybe 7/16 thick aluminum plate. But the holes that mount to the airbox right here, can you see them, are the same on both distributors. So these two little bolts that mount for the airbox are the same. You got to grind the ears on it a little bit to get it to clear a little better, but it bolts right up to the same holes, right in the same spot, which is really cool. And other than that, all the bolt holes for the Mercedes, and then all the bolt holes for the 931 lower AFM, drilled them all on the plate and made them work. And the only thing I've really had to do for a body mod to get this thing to fit is like, here's the DPR that actually does the controlling of the fuel differential pressure. Right here on the fender well, I had to put a little dent to get it to clear this plug. You can see a spot right there where the paint flaked off a little bit. I had to put a little dent right there. I mean, just, I don't know, a ½ inch. You can't even really tell. You can probably see it from underside. No, it's dirty down there. Yeah, that's it. Just a little dent to get this thing to fit. And it clears the hood fine. Actually, this probably clears by 1.5 inches or so. And then I don't know what you think you'd want to do for a air cleaner, but I just cut up an old tractor hood and knocked it up into this shape and welded it to the original upper air box, and I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, it don't look super pro, but it's a little rusty. The paint I used didn't like getting gasoline out of it a couple times. But yeah. The only other thing about this is it makes getting to the timing belt tensioner a bit more difficult than it used to be, but it's possible, I guess, because I do it. Let's see here. Yeah, about right. Yeah, I think that's about it for the fuel lines. If you can get all the original Mercedes lines, including these ones and these ones, then pretty much gold to make it work. And you need this external fuel pressure regulator. And if you put it right here, you can keep your pop-up lights. And pop-up lights barely clear this sensor, and they barely clear these lines, and pretty nice and sturdy. I don't got no airbox straps because they break. Bought brand new ones, they broke in like a week. What the heck? Yeah. Still works. Suppose that's about it. All I can think of right now. I'd like to show you that adapter a little better, but you can't really see it. Pretty much all I did was mark all the holes. Some of the holes are the same on both. I think these ones back here where the airbox mounts to it are the same bolts that are in the Mercedes AFM and the 931 AFM. So drill those holes first, bolt it together through those holes, and then all the rest of the holes, make them to where they fit this one and that one. Bolt it all together, and that's how that works. Oh yeah, and this one little spot right here, man, it's gonna be hard to see, but you can barely see that Phillips right there, down there. It gets pretty close to the original washer tank, the 931 washer tank. So I kind of, and it's the Mercedes AFM upper AFM housing is what it is. I ground around the outside of that one bolt hole mounting spot right there to give it a little more clearance on this. And there you can see it kind of right down there. So yeah, I made that a little bit less sticking out. But it clears amazingly somehow. I don't even know how. It just happened. And this other little line, I forgot about that. This fuel pressure regulator also has this tiny line right here. This one, I'm not real sure what exactly it does, I forget. It's been a while. But that's the original Mercedes line too. And I just rebent it and I ran it. You can see it down there, kind of where that Phillips bolt was. And it goes eventually to that one right there, this little one. And if you want to run your cold start injector, you take it right off of this one, I think. I just plugged it with probably just a bolt. It worked though. But yeah, I could still run this line right here to the cold start injector to get that to work if I wanted to. Come on, thing, focus where my finger is. But I haven't had a problem with it. What I did is in the top left of my map, my AFR map, like when you first crank the engine, it's real low RPM and kind of high load because there's not much vacuum. I set it real rich up here to like 120 or whatever. And that just gives me enough extra fuel to kick for an idle, or for a cold start even, or for a start. A little bit of a cold start warm up on the Mega Squirt. I think it's like 110, 115% down to like, I don't know, 40 degrees outside. This thing works. Like if it's really, really cold, it doesn't like to start, but I can pop this off, and what I do is I open the air plate and stick something in it a little bit to prop it open just a little bit, then turn the key on until, just to get the fuel pump to run, and I'll hear the injectors go just a little bit and shut the key off. Come back out here and pull that out, and then start it, and it'll fire right up because it'll just shoot a little bit of fuel. Or if you got two people, you can have somebody turn the key and finger the plate a little bit, and just to give it a little shot for a real cold start if it's like snowing out, you know. So I guess a cold start injector would be better for that, but whatever. Works. I don't complain too much. Alright, well, good luck.